Well, Cherrylane is a music publishing company, and pretty much what that means is that we represent people who write music. Currently, we have probably approximately 67,000 copyrights or songs that we administer, which pretty much means that we have the right to do certain things on behalf of writers for their music. So as a publishing company, we have the exclusive right to pitch music on behalf of writers to television, film, to other writers. We also have clients, like audiovisual clients, like Weinstein, Walden, Pokemon, who have film and television series. And we work on behalf of them to basically ensure that they're paid correctly throughout the world, that their rights are protected in regard to their intellectual property, and to exploit their music so that way it gets exposed to the world and have the artists paid overall.
My name is Mighty Bursick. I'm a supervisor of audiovisual rights.
Hi, I'm Brooke. I'm in the creative and marketing department.
I'm James Williams. I work in the business and legal affairs department. I'm the senior contract administrator there. A publishing company is important to an artist or songwriter because a publishing company have a global arm to where, music is global. So if the song is played in other territories, is that writer going to have the capability to be in these different places to make sure they're being paid at all or correctly? Publishing companies also have relationships with music supervisors and other companies to where we can get music heard to hopefully played in television and movies. A writer by themselves may not have those relationships with these companies to get the music out there or even heard. And also in regard to protection, a publishing company acts as an activist in regard to writers and helps protect them when someone possibly wants to infringe on their music or their copyright. So that's just a couple of basic reasons that, in my opinion, a publishing company is important to a writer.
There are many benefits of signing an indie deal versus a major deal, and one of them is well, Cherrylane in specific, basically, we offer more of a home style environment, not corporation. It's we're very sensitive to our clients. We can help them with issues a lot quicker than corporations. We're not bogged down by tons and tons of clients. We don't shelve our clients. We just pay attention to their issues, anything they need. We have the time to develop more closer relationships with organizations like ASCAP, BMI, Harry Fox Agency, CSAC, where we can get things done a lot quicker than these huge companies that don't have the inside. We can offer one-stop shopping a lot of times when there's a major publishing deal. When an artist has a major publishing deal, the labels will own the masters, and they'll basically have to, license the people will have to license the compositions through the publishing company and then go to the label for the masters. Where in an indie case, our artists won't be signed to the major labels, and they'll control the masters as well as the compositions. So we can basically just license both uses at once. We also offer an income tracking department, which is really key in tracking where our music gets used all over the world. I mean, this is like a group of 4 or 5 people who are dedicated to making sure that they know where everything's airing, and as far as like TV and film, where it's being played all over the world, release dates, we track all this stuff. And something that I do that I think Cherrylane was one of the first companies to put together was foreign distribution, which is contacting our distributors through our AV clients and basically following up with their distributors on what's airing, what the local language titles are, and this is all to give to our income tracking department so they can track and make sure all the income that we're due is actually coming in. So it's we just overall pay a lot more attention to things that are going on instead of getting lost in the shuffle. So.
People that make up the creative department, and our job is really to go out there and exploit the copyrights, try to get them homes and films and TV shows, video games, advertising campaigns, and we're also the same people that are looking out in the world for talent to sign. Basically how we do it, every company is different, but how we do it is we are all pretty much encouraged to bring some songwriters that we would like to sign to the table, and we all make comments in this one particular database that we all share, saying whether or not we think it would work in our areas, if it would work for films, if it would work for TV shows. Really, basically, we go through the music and comment, and a lot of major publishers and labels end up, the pitching people and the A&R people who sign bands are totally separate. So it actually hurts them, I think, because they end up throwing over the fence a band that, the film and TV people may think has no viability out there in the film world, and here they are stuck with it. But in our case at Cherrylane, we're really the same people that go through the music and decide what we want to sign. And what we do want to sign is something that is honestly going to bring in revenue and going to do well. So we're always out there looking, we're scouring websites, we have a street team of young kids that are looking for bands for us, and we're going out and seeing music live all the time. So we're just keeping our ears open anywhere we can to try to find the next big thing.
Well, in my opinion, well, definitely yes, it affected it. In my opinion, it affected it in both positive and negative ways. On a positive aspect, music needs an audience. It needs to be heard. It needs a platform. So social networking gives a platform for music to be heard. But at the same point, music is intellectual property, like any other intellectual property, and there's a value to it. So as a platform, social networking gives a chance for music to have a bigger exposure, but the negative aspect of it is that, the content needs to be licensed. We have writers that, put their work into this, and there's a value associated with that copyright. So the positive part is that, it can bring music to a wide audience of people throughout the world. In my opinion, the negative part is that there's companies out there that use music to drive people to their website, but ignore the fact that, there's a value to it, and there's writers, and that content needs to be licensed. So in my opinion, that's kind of the negative side of it, to where it's something that, just needs to be kind of addressed.
First, I repped an original music and sound design company, and then I basically cold calls. I had the job for about 6 months, and I was like, oh, this is a good way to get into it, and meet music supervisors, and I hated it. And I was just like, making phone calls to random people. They had a database, but they basically wanted me to rebuild their database. So I did that for 6 months, and I didn't really like it, and that's when I realized I wanted to go into publishing and not sales, not music sales. So I found a music library company, and I started working for them part-time, and that eventually turned into a full-time position, and I was there for 3 years. And I handled their administration. I also I negotiated licensing there, and then I found my position here at Cherrylane, and I've been here for about 3 years now. So.
Yay. So I went to Tulane University, which is located in New Orleans, And there, obviously, there's a really big music scene, and so I worked for the radio station there, and I worked at a music venue, and really just went out and saw a ton of music and realized that really music was my number one passion, and it was what I wanted to do with my life. So when I graduated college, I got an internship at a record company. It was called London Records at the time. It was a division of Polygram, which isn't around anymore. I did everything I could there, just, helped out everybody. I wasn't paid. I was just going there and working my butt off for no money. And did that for about 3 months, and the guy that I was working for there knew someone over at BMI, the Performing Rights Organization, that was looking for an assistant. They actually played basketball together, so it's kind of just that networking thing. I interviewed for that position and was hired, and ended up staying at BMI for about 7 years. My main role there was affiliating writers, so bringing them in to affiliate them, putting on showcases, making sure that they were paid correctly for, when their songs are on the radio and on TV. And then about 6 years ago, I came over to Cherrylane and started in A&R and marketing kind of dually. And I got put in charge of pitching for film and TV, and I've been here for 6 years. I'm very happy.
I actually started in the music business with a company called Koch International out in Long Island, New York. Koch they started off as a distributor of CDs, and they got into the music business, and they had a couple different record labels, a pop label, a jazz label, and a classical label. My first job in the music industry was working for the classical label. I was the production coordinator. Essentially, we had probably about 10 or 15 record releases every month. So I was kind of the head juggler in regard to getting these releases out every month, from starting it from liner notes and dealing with the writers, to getting songs on the CD mastered, to doing in stores, and from the birth to the end, pretty much, per album. So I was there for probably about 5 years or so, but halfway into my tenure there, I switched 360. I went to royalties division. I kind of felt that I maxed out what I was doing, and I had an opportunity to basically stay within the company but totally change gears. So really not knowing anything about royalties except being able to do some basic math, I was able to get a job in the mechanical royalties department, where I was kind of taken under the wing of the manager there, and really he just kind of taught me everything in regard to royalties. And the cool thing about an indie versus a major, at least from a employee position, when you're at an indie, you do everything, every single thing in the world. At a major, they kind of split things up. So really, in my opinion, it's to your benefit if you'll learn more at independent, because I learned so much at Koch, from not just a U.S. point of view, but they had a lot of international sales and records also. So I learned a lot at Koch. So after I left Koch, I went on to Zomba Records, which is the parent company of Jive Records, Britney Spears and Timberlake. And there I was the senior contract analyst. Pretty much what I did was I did artist royalties for a lot of the big artists at Jive at that time period. And I was there for several years in that position. And then I came to Cherrylane. And just to clarify, the first 2 jobs was at record labels. When I came to Cherrylane, this was my first job at a publishing company. So to me, I was pretty excited because it was a total change of pace. It's within the same industry, but we do totally 2 separate things. So I was excited about the change of pace and going from royalties to legal, because I was always very interested in contractual work, and I've been here for about 4 years now. I think education prepares you in a lot of different ways with dealing with business in general. Having a certain state of mind to handle things and people and situations. I mean, is it necessary? I mean, I'm sure a ton of executives that are in the business maybe didn't even get their degree. So it's really a case-by-case basis, in my opinion. But a degree sure don't hurt at all. I think it can only help you.
We basically ask our clients for this type of information. If there's a new film coming out, we make sure we get certain deliverables like a cue sheet, so we can submit the cue sheet to the ASCAP, BMI, CSEC societies, and if it's played on TV in the States or overseas, we get paid through the cue sheet. We also ask for air date schedules in the US as well as overseas. If they don't have that information available to them, then that's when we go the extra step and we say, okay, well then get us all of your distributor contact information and for what films they distribute on your behalf, and then we go directly to the distributors and ask them to get us that information. So it's a constant, emailing and calling, where if we're not getting the information from our client for some reason, if they don't have it, then we're just going to the distributors and following up with them. So most of the time, the clients have that information to give us on an international level and a U.S. level. And then from there, what we do is our income tracking. We'll take that information and follow up with our sub-publishers and make sure that in each local area that our sub-publisher basically covers for us, that they're aware that it's airing and they're aware that the money's coming in. They check their statements. Everyone's checking. We check our statements from our sub-publishers. Our sub-publishers are following up with the PROs in their local society and making sure that basically everything's consistent with the information that we're giving them.
People. They're pretty young and they go out. I used to do a lot of that, but honestly, I'll probably see a show once a week now. Where in the past, like our A&R person is out at least 5 nights a week, just scouring the clubs.
And are they like, oh hey, you gotta come see this person, and then you go and stuff like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's easier now though because we're able to hear music in advance a lot of the time, and so it's not only about the live show. So it kind of cuts down a lot in terms of having to go out in order to be exposed to the band at first. Whereas like when I was at BMI, it was like they just had like really, really rough demos, and then you'd have to go see them live, and then you'd be like, okay, I get it, But nowadays it's a lot easier for people to do recordings, so you can hear what their vibe is a lot of the times before, and sometimes it saves you from having to go out.
Yeah.
Well, one, that would be off of a synchronization license. Basically, the filmmaker would be asking permission to use a song in their film. The fee varies on a lot of different things. It varies on the filmmaker's budget. It varies on how the film is being distributed. Is it a film festival? Is it an independent film? Does it have major backing behind the film? If the song would be used over opening or closing credit, which is more prominent, so that would kind of escalate the fee. Is it a visual vocal, background vocal? Is it like a main part of that segment of the movie? Is it helping the movie along, or is it a background vocal? So all of that kind of determines what the fee will be.
And how big is the song?
And how big is the song? Yeah. If it's a #1 hit single, then you're gonna have to pay for that because that, like I said before, that song has value, and that song is bringing value to your movie. So the bigger the song, the more the fee will be. The bigger the writer, the more the fee, the more they can command to get it in the movie. The lower. If the writer isn't known as well as someone else, then you could probably ask for a lower fee, but it's all negotiations. It's all what you can give and what they're willing to give or take from you, pretty much.
There's also something called a step deal, which is kind of what you were getting at a little bit, where if a filmmaker wants to really use a song and they don't have the money up front, we can do what's called a step deal with them, where we can give them a certain fee right up front in the beginning, and then if it starts starts to make a lot of money at the box office, every time it hits a certain level, we can get some more money. So everybody wins in those types of cases.
Good questions, guys. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.